This Straight Saturday video, we're going to take a look at another Smith & Wesson knife that I really wanted to check out, and I'm kind of glad I did because it's just plain fun. That's coming up next on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. So the folks at Straight and Smith & Wesson were kind enough to send me, actually they sent me a bunch of stuff, but this is one that I chose from the 2017 catalog. It is the OTF 9B, and that stands for Smith & Wesson out the front 9B. Now this is not an automatic knife. This is an assisted opening knife, and what that means is, and my understanding of it is anyway, that an automatic knife is a blade is under tension and is released, where an assisted opening knife is the blade has some sort of assist mechanism that must be started with a manual opener. So before we start doing all the fun stuff, let's talk about the specs. Okay, so here's the Smith & Wesson OTF 9B. This knife features a 3.6 inch, or for those of you still stuck in the old metric system, a 9.14 centimeter black spear point blade of Aus-8 steel with a 5.13 inch or 13.9 centimeter black aluminum handle with an overall open length of 8.77 inches or 22.28 centimeters. Weighs just 7 ounces or about 199 grams. Features a glass breaker, a pocket clip, a safety, blade release, and a blade retraction lever. Okay, so that's some of the specs of this OTF 9B, and let me just show you how this thing operates. And again, it's not an automatic knife. Pretty much an automatic out the front knife. When you push the lever, the blade opens, and then you pull the lever back and it automatically shuts the blade. At least most of them I'm familiar with. This is actually an assisted opening. So let me just run you through the mechanics of this thing. First of all, it has a safety. When that red is on, it means it's able to fire. So in your pocket, you want to keep it like that, just because you really don't want this thing stabbing you in the leg. How this thing differs mainly from an automatic is you got this lever that's going to ride up, so it follows the blade. This is actually connected to the blade. So when you push this button here, see the lever here, and you see it follows up now. It's up here now. So now the blade is locked out. You got to use this little blade release right here, and you push that down and watch. You can watch the blade kind of as I push it. It releases the blade. Then you take this lever and you pull it back with your finger to lock the blade back in place. One thing you got to remember is if your fingers are in the way of this recocking lever here, like so, it's going to interfere with its firing, and it's going to slow it down. So you see, my thumb just got in the way. Here, it didn't even click open because my thumb was right there in the way. So if you got your thumb down over that track like that, you're not completely clear. See, I just did it again. It just hit my thumb a little bit and didn't really lock open. So that's something you really got to be aware of. And that's, I think, one of the biggest differences this is going to be from an automatic. Most of the automatics out the fronts I'm familiar with, I mean, you don't have to worry about it. You can hold them any way you want because the only opening is in the very front. This has got this mechanism that you just have to get used to making sure that's clear. Another thing I want to mention about this knife is, and I am not an attorney, I don't even play one on TV, but there's a lot of places this knife is not going to be legal. First of all, it's a double-edged blade, so that's going to pretty much eliminate it from a lot of municipalities. And then, even though it's not an automatic, out the front in general may be illegal in some places, and you may get a little pushback if you try to plead the case that it's not an automatic. Because it's just kind of like that magic assist that Straight has. You see, I just hit it with my thumb a little bit, and it locks open, but barely. To my mind, that's the biggest drawback to this thing, is just the way that mechanism works. Now, Straight has some out the front knives that I checked out a little while back that really the mechanism was on the side, and it was just really in the way. This one's a lot easier to use. If you can keep your fingers out of the way like that, it just opens up very nicely. And it's not as hard to keep your fingers out of the way, but it's still, I mean, it's a compromise, okay? There's no way around it. It's not an automatic knife. If you just like the out the front concept, I think a little practice with this thing, you can get to where it's second nature to keep your fingers out of the way. And I also found this one is a lot easier to reload than the first Straight out the fronts I checked out. So all that being said, a lot of rambling here trying to show you how this thing operates, but you can see as long as you don't put your thumbs in the way and your fingers in the way, you're good. So what I thought we'd do is This is definitely not a bushcraft knife. We're not going to strike a ferro rod or anything because this is double edged. There's really nowhere to strike. I'm sure it would strike a ferro rod, but you know, we're not going to do that. What I thought we'd do is, I got a piece of pretty stiff cardboard back here. I'm not going to throw this because I think that would be completely abuse. I mean, it's got a spring in it. You definitely don't want to throw it. But let's see how well it just stabs through some, that's pretty heavy duty, like 4 or 5 ply cardboard. We'll check that out and see what happens. I may just do a little throwing. I couldn't help it. Okay, so it goes in really easily. Let's try this. Let's see what happens if we just gonna see how strong the spring is. I don't think it's gonna go do anything if I do this, but we'll see how far it goes in. Okay, you ready? So yeah, it didn't go in at all. I didn't expect it to, honestly. I don't even know if many automatics would do that. I can't help it. By the way, you want to see a point? I mean, you could dig a splinter out with that. I tried, I just can't help myself. Hey, look at that. Well, you know. Chuck Norris's wife leaves the seat up. Okay, I think it's probably enough fun for one video, but you know, practical, probably not. Is it going to be as good and out the front as an automatic? Not in my opinion, but it's also not 300 bucks, and it is pretty cool. You know, if you just like cool stuff, again, I hit it with my thumb, but if you like cool stuff and you keep your thumb out of the way, this could be a pretty fun knife. And definitely you want to check your local laws, but pretty cool knife, and it's surprisingly strong lockup, and it's balanced. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's talk about this knife. Is it practical? I don't know. You know, it's definitely not going to take the place of an automatic, because you do got that lever in the way, and you really do have to work to keep your thumb out of the way a little bit. So, you know, it's a very solid action, I think. It's not too bad to lock up and all, but it's definitely not an automatic. It's not going to be as useful, in my opinion, or at least it's not going to be as convenient as an automatic. Because an automatic, you push the button once, it opens, you pull the button back and it closes. It's very, very easy to use one-handed. This opens really easily one-handed, but it does not close easily at all one-handed. You might could do it. I'm not going to try, because I'm going to wind up slicing my fingers if I do, because it does have a double-edged blade, which is another possible drawback. It's going to make it illegal in several places, a lot of places probably, along with the fact that out the front that you might have a hard time arguing the point that this is not an automatic with some people. But so is it really practical? You know, I don't know. It's a cool knife. I think it's fun. If you man, I'm going to try to stop doing that. My wife would be telling me, please stop clicking that stupid knife. So you're probably thinking the same thing. So I will just wrap this up. I got to say, I think it's a cool knife. I do think it's a really solid knife. It seems to be made very well. I like this design a lot better than the other Schrade ones I reviewed a couple of years ago, the out the front, kind of the first models they came out with. I think this one's a lot slimmer and not as it's just plain not as ugly. It's a good looking knife. So anyway, practical, maybe not. Fun, definitely. So once again, thanks to the folks at Schrade and Smith & Wesson for sending me this knife so I could show it to you. As always, thank you for watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for subscribing, for clicking that thumbs up, for sharing this video with all your friends. Thank you so very much for doing all your Amazon shopping through the Survival on Purpose links. I really appreciate the support. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time. I like it. I can't help it. No, this little actuation lever. Man, my camera's getting wet. I got to get out of here. Okay, one more time, okay? Wait, watch the little lever on the side right there. I don't want to stab my finger on camera.